Do you find responsibilities in work, family, and health too overwhelming to handle? Welcome to Health, Wealth, and Relationships, Thriving in the Balancing Act. Join physical therapist and relationship consultant Dr. Gina Williams in building stronger connections, advancing your career, and elevating your overall well-being. Here you'll find practical tips, inspiring stories, and actionable strategies for living a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
Hello, and welcome to the podcast, everyone. Health, Wealth, and Relationships, Thriving in the Balancing Act. I am Dr. Gina Williams, owner of Mobility Health Physical Therapy, a physical therapy practice based in Midtown Manhattan, New York. You can come to our clinic space there, or if you live in Brooklyn, Manhattan, or Queens, we can come to your home. Today's podcast guest is Stephanie Keenan Ray. Stephanie is a holistic healer, an essential oil educator. Welcome to the podcast, Stephanie. Stephanie empowers her clients to improve their health and wellness with natural solutions. Her interest in holistic healing began in her childhood when she taught herself reflexology and how to help her family. Since then, she has dedicated herself to learning about alternative therapies, which she now incorporates in her practice. She is passionate about sharing her knowledge to help others feel confident and embrace their natural beauty. Welcome to the podcast, Stephanie. A pleasure having you here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really great.
So, Stephanie, tell us about your beginnings. What brought you into this holistic life?
So, I started at a rather young age. I was in about 6th grade when my mom and I got into a car accident. And a couple months later, my mom's shoulder froze. So she eventually went to see a chiropractor, and they brought me to, and turned out I had some slip discs in my neck and lower back. And, seeing especially my mom, whose shoulder was frozen, she had slip discs, all these things going on, and couldn't even reach up to, move clothes as a retail person. Seeing her heal with, chiropractic and PT was completely amazing to me. And, especially where we had gone to the hospital after the accident and they're like, "You're fine," So, and I kind of said to myself, well, how would the pain for me manifested? Because when we went to the chiropractor, I didn't have pain, but we did, you could see on the x-rays, I had slip discs, and I was fascinated by it. And luckily my chiropractor was an amazing man, and he could see that I was very in tune with my body and interested in what he was doing. And basically in 6th grade, I was like, I'm going to run off to chiropractic school. And I wanted to go like then. But, can't do that. So somehow, I don't even know how I got my hands on this, but someone got me a reflexology book. And I learned about reflexology, and I just sat there reading it, and I would practice on my family's feet, and especially my dad's, because he would get kidney stones. So I started like helping him pass kidney stones faster and easier with more, less pain, and it went faster. So he was like, "This is amazing." And so there was that reward of like, I'm actually helping somebody feel better, and it's just from massaging its feet. Like, that's so cool. So I just kept learning things and studying different modalities, and I didn't really know what I was going to do with it. I ran off to regular college thinking I was going to be a chiropractor, and organic chemistry had something to say about that. So I just it's been a journey. And for the longest time, I called myself a Renaissance woman, because I just felt like I was learning all these things and I knew a lot of things, but I didn't know how to put them together. And in my late 20s, I became an esthetician. And of course I did that as the economy tanked. So again, journey. And then when COVID hit, just before COVID, a couple years before COVID, I started educating on essential oils, and I had been using them almost 20 years by the time I aligned with doTERRA. But I was amazed by, it was funny, I was very judgy. I was like, oh, those are just expensive oils. And then I learned about how the quality is so different and the science behind them and everything. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I did some research on what I was using, because I was like, I've got therapeutic grade oils. I know what I'm doing. And then once I decided to align with them, I was just blown away by their background, their science, and how they keep it as pure as possible, and how different the rest of the industry can be. So I started educating on oils, and that was how I kind of came back to skincare. I had always kept my hand in it with my family and friends and stuff, but as I got comfortable, I started talking about using the oils for our wellness, but also for our skin. And my friends were like, "You need to get back into an aesthetics room." And I said, "Yeah, right." Like, going back to commission-based work when you have a family and stuff, like, I don't know about that. And then when COVID hit, I got furloughed from my desk job, and, like, literally 3 weeks later, this salon that I had done a vendor fair at, and I had said to them, like, kind of nonchalantly, like, 6 months earlier, "If you ever need an esthetician, I have no idea how I'll do it, but, like, let me know." And they were hiring back after having closed down, those first few months, and so it was like fate. And so I took the leap and got back into an aesthetics room, and finally all the things that I was doing came together. And also right before COVID hit, I was going to teach a class where I was going to do a facial and teach people how to make their own products and everything. And I ended up taking that online because of COVID. And so that actually eventually became my coaching practice, where I coach people on, I mean, the focus is skin health, but it's that whole inside out piece of holistic care of, you've got to take care of the stress. You've got to take care of your gut, all the other things that play a role in what eventually comes out on our skin. And so, yeah, it was a journey, but, but at like, you know, 20 years later, it all finally, or 30 years really, if we think
Things
about when I
that
started, it
now we
all came together. Yeah.
Well, it's so important you mentioned that, especially as a holistic healer, that it was a journey and you did have to do your homework to find out the best quality types of oils and what makes sense, and even doing your homework to find out what's in what we put on our face and our skin. And so, how
Mhm.
did you help the person who's now starting to get into essential oils kind of pinpoint what are the best brands or the best type of things to look for?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm biased. I'm gonna say doTERRA's the best, but it really is one of the best. It's one of the purest out there. Like, there was a study where this third party lab tested like 10 different brands, and they tested like lavender and tea tree or something and one other oil of each brand. And of the 10 brands, only 3 passed for being completely pure, and doTERRA was one of them. The other 2 brands I've honestly never heard of. But yeah, so you wanna look for, because the thing is, where it's not a regulated industry, oils can say that they're 100% pure and be up to like 80%. They can be completely synthetic, actually. So about 80% of the oils on the marketplace are synthetic, which means that they're lab created, they're not natural at all, and they're chemicals, which can technically make you sick. So they're doing the reverse of what you think they're supposed to be doing.
That
Um
is a huge issue with, and knowing that, it's not regulated like some of our foods and other products are. And so even like olive oil, like it's like I,
Mhm.
struggle to figure out which ones are the best and the purest and what
Exactly, because now
brands.
there's
So
that,
just try to
yeah.
stick with one brand. Mhm.
Yeah. So, like, with doTERRA, they have a third party lab test their oils before they even purchase them from the growers or distillers. And, um, and so they put on each bottle, on the bottom of the bottle will be a number, and you can go to a specific website and actually see those third party results. So that, I think, if they say that they test but they don't publish the results, I think that's the biggest thing. So, it doesn't have to be doTERRA, but make sure it's third party tested, that it's pure, and that you can actually see the results. Whether you can understand them or not is a different story, because it's written in science lingo,
Yeah,
but you know? Yeah.
translate.
Yeah, translate, please.
That's
Uh,
so helpful. So, as a holistic esthetician, how do you blend natural solutions with skincare to help your clients embrace their natural beauty?
I mean, one of the biggest things is just, one, helping with the mindset of, like, really accepting that you're beautiful. Like, I personally think everyone is beautiful in their own right, and they just need to embrace that. There's such a cultural thing to look at ourselves and knock ourselves down and say, "Oh, this is wrong with me. This is wrong with me, and it needs to be fixed," or whatever. And yeah, you might have some acne or irritation in your skin or whatever. That is a flaw that we can fix, but it kind of starts at that internal element. It also then, when it comes to the holistic end of it, it's aging gracefully. We want to look at the inside out. So we want to make sure we're taking the best care of ourselves. We're, you know, getting the right vitamins that we need and nutrients for our skin, for our bones, for our everything, for our muscles. And we want to make sure we're managing stress. Stress, if you think about the things that help us age, make us age faster. There are those people that they're 45 and they look 25, and then there's the people that are 45 that look 60. There's a lot of lifestyle things that play a role. So if you're a smoker or you drink heavily, those obviously play a role, but so does stress. Stress is one of the biggest ones. If you're not sleeping well, your body has no time to repair itself and get better. So it's going to come out on your skin eventually. And aging, you're going to age faster with all of that. The chemicals in our environment, that plays a huge role. So yeah, naturally, slowly going through all the different elements of our life and trying to approach it from the most natural way and holistic way of caring for ourselves so that we, I find it empowers people to have that knowledge and know, like, okay, what am I using on my skin? What am I using in my body? What are the ingredients that I'm taking in, and how does that affect me, right? And you can make conscious decisions. Like in our household, we've gone pretty darn natural over the past, 12, 15 years. But my husband, he still loves Dawn dish soap and his Pantene Pro V. Well, I'm not gonna tell him he can't use the shampoo, and in my mindset, I say, "Well, you know what? It's his. He can use it." And, as far as the Dawn dish soap's concerned, I'm like, "Well, we we technically use 2 different dish soaps, but the Dawn is for when there's really, a hard mess." But we have brought our toxicity level of what we're using so much we've brought it down so much that I can't complain. I just say we're doing 10 times, 1,000 times better than what we were 15 years ago. So it's kind of, you have to pick and choose your battles and be realistic about it. You can't go headstrong and like change everything instantly. You'll probably fall off that bandwagon. So it's kind of a process.
Too much to do. Yeah, little by little to help make it a part of your lifestyle, because that's what it is.
Yeah,
You know, I
exactly.
love the way you
Exactly.
talk about like self in a form of teaching us to help take care of ourselves. I mean,
Mhm.
what we say to ourselves, our mantra, with
Mhm.
us our whole life. And,
Mhm.
like I said, a little bit of acne here and there. But if we don't love ourselves and start taking care of ourselves, it's kind of difficult to walk through this world and take care of others.
Right, exactly. And if we're, as women, we tend to be the caregivers, the ones who overextend ourselves all the time. And if we don't take a little bit of time for ourselves, we're gonna have that empty cup and we're just gonna it's not gonna work eventually, right? And so for me, especially focusing on people that are around our age group, I have been really talking about, coming up with just mini rituals, like little short things you can do to shift your energy, to shift your health and take care of your skin or your internal, stress levels, things like that. Finding these mini rituals that are easy, it doesn't have to be an hour of meditation and some journaling and, the litany of things people tell you need to do. When you have kids and you have a job and you have a house to take care of and maybe even parents to take care of, it's like, how are you supposed to do all of this, right? So find the little ways to add it in, and know that you're caring for yourself, even if it's like little micro doses of caring.
That's the big one. Many of us are just so busy, but giving ourselves the leeway and the understanding that a little bit does count. You don't have to
It
spend
does.
half your morning doing the thing it is for your self-care.
Mhm.
Feel whole, just a little
Yeah.
bit. And that's a check, did it for
Exactly.
today, you know?
Exactly. And that's one of those things where I find the essential oils play a huge role because when you inhale an essential oil, it immediately goes into our limbic system, which controls our emotions, our heart rate, our blood pressure, our hormones, all sorts of different things, right? So let's say you inhale some lavender, you're going to immediately start to feel that relaxation in your body. Your heart rate slows down, you feel calmer, and the stress is like goes out the window, right? So I love one of my favorite things is to just have a lot of my moisturizers are just say olive oil and some essential oils because olive oil is wonderful for the skin and some essential oils, some of them are so great for skin. So even if it was lavender and some olive oil, like rubbing it in my hands, taking a few minutes to smell it as I'm putting it on my skin and just being grateful for these oils for those couple seconds to care for myself, literally, like 2 seconds and you're done, but it has a huge effect that you feel physically and mentally and emotionally. So, it's kind of amazing.
It is, and I can't remember who recommended that to me over the past year, but I've been incorporating that, and it feels so good. It's been such a helpful tip. Maybe it was
Yeah,
you, Stephanie,
it might
but
I don't know. Could have been. Yeah, it is. It's a game changer. It really is. And I think people are also blown away that I love to give those simple solutions. I think as an esthetician, people expect me to be selling some line of product. And for me, it's really more about coming up with what's going to work best for you. And a lot of times for me, I'm like, if you have some essential oils and a couple little things in your house, you can make amazing masks. You can make amazing blends for your skin. You can take care of yourself and your family. It's kind of incredible. So, yeah, I love to just either teach people or if they're not the do it yourself kind of people, I'll be like, I can make a blend for you, you know?
easy, cost effective.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
So, Stephanie, can you share a success story where your holistic therapies have made a significant difference in their impact in someone's health or their confidence?
Yeah, actually, one of my favorite stories is my good friend. She had probably one of the most intense eczema outbreaks I've ever seen. It actually started when her hairdresser changed the line of hair color product that she was using. So she did her hair and the eczema started on the back of her scalp and then it proceeded to kind of go all over her scalp, but then it went onto her neck and her whole face and it was like thick and irritated and angry and just intense. And so she came to me and said, I need your help. And we were doing like at least monthly facials. And then I would give her certain products to deal with it at home. And her goal when she came to me at first was, I want to be able to leave the house without makeup on. I know it's going to take a long time, but I feel so embarrassed by this. But I also know when I put makeup over it, it doesn't look good either. And it doesn't help it. So that was her goal, and she was so self-conscious at the time, but we worked through it. It was a process, but the thing was, she got empowered knowing she was using these tools that was helping her skin. It wasn't, so before it was even 100% better, she was going out without that makeup because she had that confidence of I'm working on this. I'm getting it better. She did have to get her gut health in check. She had to do a lot of different things, but and stress. She was a stress ball. So, a combination of some stress activities, dealing with her gut health, getting the facials and using certain products consistently absolutely shifted so much and the confidence difference in her. And then once we finally cleared it up was like, that was the most rewarding, to finally heal it. Yeah.
You who or her who traced back that incidence of the start of the eczema from a hair color change from her hairdresser?
Mhm. Yeah, so, she figured it out because it was pretty much right after the getting her hair dyed. Her scalp was just super itchy and irritated, and then it just got worse and worse, and So she asked her hairstylist, what did you do different? And she said, oh, I changed my color line. And, she was just like, oh my gosh. And I think she went to somebody who used natural products too. So that was like a shock for her. But she was like, oh man, that it's insane. And that is one thing. The more natural you go, the more sensitive your skin becomes, I swear to God. But because you become sensitive to all the chemicals that are in everything else, And so I think that also played a little role. But yeah, we did manage to figure it out. And then honestly, she stopped dyeing her hair from that point too. And so she also embraced
Yeah,
her
more
her
natural.
grays. She embraced, what's going on. And honestly, I'd say she's a completely different human at this point, which is
Well,
cool.
a transformation, especially with your
Mhm.
health, it's full
Yeah.
circle of not
Mhm.
even needing that dye anymore, not wanting it because not
Right.
"Oh, I'm not gonna get that because it caused me eczema, but I don't
Right.
need it. I'm just gonna
Yeah, exactly.
be,"
She just
you
was like,
know?
rather than searching out another way, I mean, she usually went with like a red color, so she could have used henna or something, and she was like, "Nope, just not gonna do it." And it's pretty cool. Yeah.
It's a beautiful story. You're so
Yeah.
passionate about helping
Yeah.
others feel confident. What piece of advice would
Yeah.
you give to someone struggling with their self-confidence and their appearance?
It's hard, because there's so many different things that play a role, whatever formed that person to have that lack of trust in themselves and confidence in themselves. But sometimes it's more that somebody else sees that in them, sees that they're beautiful or sees that they have a light and something beautiful to contribute to the world. So I find that honestly just making that like saying to them, I see this in you, that tends to be a very powerful thing. They may not believe me, but but then teaching them how to just or ask it, encouraging them to care for themselves and take that time to get to know themselves and see who they truly are versus who they've been told they are.
Mm.
I think that's the biggest thing. I was blessed to have parents that unwaveringly loved me and I think I was just kind of born with that like I am who I am. I know I go to a different rhythm of the drum than everyone else, and that's okay. That whole comparison game was not really a thing I fell for a really long time. I think it hit me more after I had my child, because you're like, oh, I can't lose the baby weight. And, like suddenly you're like, ugh. But
Yourself that you knew before for like 2, 3
yeah,
decades.
exactly. Like that was when it hit me and I was like, oh, now I get it. you know? But
Talking about.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. And so what's new for you? What are any projects that you're working on or anything that we can look forward to hearing more about? Stephanie?
Yeah. I mean, I am doing a lot of speaking this year where I will be talking about the mini rituals. But the other big thing that I work on is well, I have a podcast with Wendy Tediucci called Smiling Souls, and that's all
Hey.
about really, yeah, helping women who are in the sandwich generation, so caretaking for their kids as well as maybe their parents, or thinking about that and worrying about that, right? Helping them find tools and joy and resources to make their life easier, right? So that's one thing that I absolutely love. And the other thing that I do is I run a creative network. So the creative network it's called Natural Beauties Arts and Ideas Creative Network. And I couldn't come up with a longer name. Uh, but it's all about letting people tap into their creativity to spark that joy, that innovation, that happiness. And it tends to roll over into our personal and our professional lives once we tap into that side of our brain. And I really want people who don't even consider themselves creative to come and join us. We do a couple different things. So we do these Monday sessions where it's the second and fourth Monday of the month where we just come together for an hour on Zoom and everybody brings something to work on, creative. So if you don't consider yourself creative, just bring a coloring book and some markers or crayons. The rest of us, sometimes it's watercolors. We've had a couple people that do other types of creative things like sewing or whatever. But everybody just kind of works on something creative for an hour just to tap into that. And we chit chat while we're doing it. And it's fun. And, some days we're really quiet. Like the week after the election, everybody was really, really quiet and just doing their art. And then other weeks we chitter chatter about all sorts of silliness. But it's interesting and fun. And you never know what's going to come out of the conversation. And then we have a once a month creative session that is more of a guided offer. So like this month, we're going to be painting welcome signs. Next month, it's going to be a pen and ink drawing class, like a meditative drawing class. It's going to be really cool. And then because I called it the arts and ideas, I want to have an element that people can tap in and learn about things that are going to help them grow personally and professionally. So I have a bunch of trainers who share on different topics. So throughout like each month, there's probably 2 different trainers that will do a session that's about their expertise. So we have people who are business coaches. We have people that are into, computer stuff and, marketing. And then we have self-care people and, whatnot. So it runs the gamut, and there's all sorts of different ways to be inspired. And I just love offering that for people so that they can grow and thrive,
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Great opportunity. And it's another self-care thing to do what you want to do, be creative and take time for what you like and enjoy.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what pretty much everybody, once they went to like the first one, they're like, I didn't realize how much this is like a self-care hour, of those Monday sessions, where you just get to play. And, for me, it's, I find that afterwards, I'm just a happier, person. And when I go back to work, it's like everything's firing and things are getting done. And when I'm with my family, I'm just a better human. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it gives me an excuse to just be doing my art. So that makes me happy.
Wonderful. Well, such a pleasure to have you, Stephanie, on the podcast. Thank you for sharing those wonderful gems about how we can do simple things to just take care of ourselves. Please go to her website for essential oil, the recommendations. They're really good. I was on there, really going down that rabbit hole on the website last night.
Awesome. I'm so glad you loved it. And thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. So if you're looking for more recordings and with Stephanie Keenan Ray, please go to my website, mobilityhealthpt.com.
That's all for this episode. May this discussion full of actionable tips and valuable advice guide you towards better possibilities in your personal and professional life. Continue your journey of unlocking your fullest potential by listening to more episodes of the podcast at mobilityhealthpt.com. Achieving stronger relationships, securing a thriving career, and embracing a healthier lifestyle may be daunting at first, but it is not impossible. You have the power to unleash the best version of you today. Until next time.